everybody, welcome back to Pushing Pixels. I'm your host, Sam Mestis. Sorry it's been so long, but work is just keeping me super busy. But don't worry about that. I'm going to get going here because this is the tutorial, the two-parter I tried doing like 2.5 weeks ago. And did it, and it ended up being like 18 minutes, and that's just way too long for a tutorial. So I took off the top third of that tutorial, and we're going to do this little badge first, and then we'll move this graphic over to another graphic, and that'll be part 2 of the tutorial. So let's get started. Image size, I am at 1920 by 1080. That's HD size at 72 dpi, and that's mostly just for presentation's sake, so you can all see what I'm doing here. We're going to do everything on one layer, and it's going to go quick, so strap in. Here we go. I started off with a rectangle, a rounded edge rectangle, and I did that with the shape tool and flatten that layer, and that's it. We're going to go from there. So double click your layer. Double click, there we go. We're going to bring up our layers palette. Let me move this over just a little bit so you can see. And we'll start at the bottom. We're going to start with a stroke. And right away I'm going to change that to 7 so you can really see it. And we are going to use a gradient instead of a solid color. And it's already started changing that. It kind of does look metal, but we're going to beef that up a little bit. And if you go to brusheasy.com, you can find some gradients, and the one I'm using is called Ultimate Metal Gradients. And it comes with quite a few. You can see there's tons of metal gradients in here. And I'm just going to randomly pick one. I like that one. And that looks good. It's a gray. It's like a battleship gray to white to black to white to gray again. And it looks pretty good. That'll work for us. Next we're going to go to Pattern Overlay. And you can already see the pattern I've chosen. It's called Spider-Man, and it is also at Brush Easy. And if I turn that off, it's kind of a honeycomb type of metal grid effect. And I'm just going to leave that exactly how it's set up as default. Looks good already. And on top of that, we're going to add a gradient. And on that gradient, that's not going to work. We're going to lose the pattern too. We'll change that in a minute. Let's try using some reds. So I'm going to pick a really dark red, and then up high I'm also going to pick a semi, not as dark but dark. And let's add some highlights. So I'm going to add another point. We'll do that somewhere in the middle, and then one more point, and we'll make this one kind of light. It's close. I want the more black at the bottom though. The highlight I really just want to keep tight like that. Not bad. That's kind of what I'm looking for. Maybe not as far up. There we go. We'll use that for now. Okay, now we can't see the grid anymore, but if we change this layer blend mode to hard light, the grid will pop right through. And now it's really starting to look like something. Let's go to a bevel, because this is kind of where it gets a little bit crazy. For the bevel, we will leave it at inner bevel and smooth, and the size is good. Let's change the angle. The angle is good. We'll use that. It's almost by default at this point. Size, yeah, let's just keep all this. This will work good. The thing we are going to do though is change the contour. So if you click the contour tab, you can see it's subtle, but it does put a sort of inner glow on that stroke. And it's very super subtle. But also let's change our contour path as well. And we're going to use something called, I think it's called Ring. I believe it's this one. There we go. And that's a little bit more highlight, and turn the anti-alias on as well. So you can kind of see what it's doing there. And that anti-alias will sharpen that up a bit. And that's pretty good. These are all just defaults. And everything looks good. Oh, check my anti-alias. And one more last thing. We're going to do a drop shadow. And I'm just going to reach out and pull out this drop shadow by hand. And maybe change the size up a bit. Size around 20-ish. 18. And there you go. Click OK. And not bad, right? Looks pretty good. I'm going to put a blank layer above that and turn off this gray. And if I hold down on my Alt key and hit this flyout here, I can hit merge visible, and it's going to merge the effects to that layer. So now everything is just on one layer. Not too bad. One layer, some styles, and we get all this done. I mean, when you think about it, that's a lot of work that happens. You've basically built something from scratch in a couple seconds, and it looks pretty good. We're going to transfer this to another project and then continue on in part 2. So come back for that. Thanks for tuning in, everybody, and we'll see you on part 2.